The gym went quiet. Not the polite, normal silence of a momentary pause, but the heavy, expectant silence that signals something extraordinary is about to happen. A black belt, chest puffed, muscles taut, smirked at Keanu Reeves. You call that martial arts?" he sneered, the words dripping with arrogance. The laughter from a few students echoed his confidence, a chorus of ego, feeding on perceived superiority. Keanu didn't flinch. He didn't even shift his stance. His eyes met the black belt's, calm and unyielding. There was no anger, no challenge, no theatrics. Just quiet, calculated focus. The kind of presence that made even the bravest student pause. The crowd circled around them instinctively, forming a rough ring. Whispers floated through the gym. "Is he really going to fight?" "That's Keanu Reeves." Some students gasped, recognizing him, while others stared incredulously, wondering how this could even happen. The black belt moved forward, exaggerating his stance, flaring his hands, showing off. He thrived on ego, on the attention of those around him, and he made no effort to hide it. "Come on," he barked, pointing mockingly. "Show me what you've got. Or are you just a movie star pretending?" Keanu didn't respond. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't move toward the challenge. He simply observed. Every flicker of muscle, every shift in balance, every small detail of the black belt's stance passed through his eyes with perfect clarity. He didn't attack, didn't engage, and yet the energy in the room subtly shifted. The students leaned in closer, phones raised, ready to record a fight they assumed would be dramatic. Instructors watched from the sidelines, unsure whether to intervene or let nature run its course. The gym's usual chaos had evaporated, replaced with an almost sacred tension, the calm before a storm that no one saw coming. In that moment, everyone understood something instinctively. This wasn't going to be a normal match. This was a collision between ego and true mastery, and only one of them understood what that meant. And in that suspended silence, with every eye on him, Keanu Reeves stood perfectly still, calm, waiting for the first move. The gym was alive with energy, except for the sudden bubble of tension that had formed around the center of the mat. Students paused mid-stretch, instructors shifted their weight, and the hum of conversation turned into a near silence, all eyes drawn to the two men at the center. The black belt thrived in this environment. He strutted across the mat like he owned the place, muscles flexing with every movement, chest puffed proudly. Every glance he gave to the crowd was a reminder. Look at me, fear me, admire me. He shouted instructions at students, demonstrating strikes and counters with flair, each movement exaggerated for effect. Ego was his weapon. Attention was his currency. Confidence, not skill, was his armor. And then Keanu Reeves stepped onto the mat. There were no grand entrances, no dramatic gestures, no sudden flare of energy. He moved with a calm, deliberate grace, as if stepping onto the mat were no different from walking down a quiet street. Jeans, a simple shirt, and bare feet. The look of a man completely at ease in his own skin, unconcerned with appearances. But in every gesture, in every subtle shift of weight, there was precision, control, and undeniable authority. The contrast was immediately clear to anyone watching. One man was performance, ego projected outward, confidence manufactured for the eyes of the crowd. The other was presence itself, quiet, steady, and impossible to shake. The black belt shouted, flexed, and made demands. Keanu observed, assessed, and waited. One sought validation through noise and dominance. The other had no need for validation at all. Students whispered nervously. Is he really going to fight?" someone asked. "I've trained for years, and I've never seen anyone so calm under pressure," another murmured. Even the instructors exchanged glances, recognizing that the tension in the room wasn't just about skill. It was about character, experience, and understanding beyond the physical. The black belt made his first move, a flashy forward step with a mock jab, clearly meant to provoke. "Come on, show me what you've got," he shouted, laughter escaping him as he smirked at the crowd. "Or are you just another celebrity pretending to know martial arts?" Keanu didn't respond. He didn't shift his stance or raise his hands. He simply adjusted his weight slightly, a subtle movement so imperceptible most would have missed it. But in that one adjustment, The difference between skill and showmanship became clear. He was ready, not to impress, but to react with flawless precision if necessary. Every muscle in Keanu's body was relaxed yet coiled, like a spring. His eyes tracked the black belt's movements with perfect focus, noting every twitch, every imbalance, every small opening that only someone with years of experience could see. The contrast was stark. One man relied on ego, shouting, and theatrics. The other relied on presence, observation, and mastery earned over decades. The crowd could feel it. Energy shifted. The laughter faded. Whispers died down. Even the black belt felt a subtle unease creeping in, though he refused to admit it. For all his bravado, he sensed, instinctively, that the calm man before him was far more dangerous than he could ever anticipate. In that charged silence, the stage was set. One man mocked, loud and eager to prove himself. The other, calm and confident, was quietly preparing, one subtle move away from teaching a lesson no one in the room would ever forget. The black belt lunged forward with exaggerated motions, his movements loud and theatrical. Every punch, every feint, every step was calculated to humiliate. "Come on, Keanu," he shouted, chest puffed, voice echoing off the gym walls. "Show us what you've got. Or are you just pretending to know martial arts?" The crowd circled tighter, phones raised, breath caught in anticipation. Students whispered nervously. Even the instructors couldn't hide the flicker of concern in their eyes. The energy in the room was palpable, half excitement, half tension, half fear. Keanu Reeves didn't move. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't shout or respond. He simply observed. His eyes were calm, focused, taking in every detail: the black belt's posture, the weight distribution in his stance, the way his shoulders tensed before each punch. He didn't react impulsively. He didn't respond to ego with ego. He let the other man's arrogance do all the work for him. The black belt laughed at his own theatrics, spinning into a flashy high kick that barely grazed the air near Keanu. "See, you're just standing there," he yelled. "This is martial arts, not a staring contest." Keanu shifted his weight slightly, barely noticeable, but that subtle motion changed everything. His center of gravity adjusted perfectly, coiling like a spring. His focus didn't waver for a fraction of a second. The black belt's exaggerated movements, meant to intimidate and impress, now betrayed him. He overextended, left an opening, an invitation Keanu could not ignore. The crowd gasped. Phones hovered midair. Students whispered, "Did you see that? He's barely moved." The black belt lunged again, this time with a punch intended to land decisively. Confidence radiated from him. He believed his showmanship and ego would intimidate Keanu into reacting, into making a mistake. But Keanu Reeves didn't react. He waited, calm, patient, and precise. Then it happened. With one seamless, subtle move, Keanu redirected the black belt's momentum. A shift in stance, a slight pivot, and the force that had been intended to dominate was turned against him. The black belt stumbled, off balance. His smirk vanished. Shock registered on his face as his feet betrayed him. Before anyone could react, he was kneeling on the mat, unable to recover instantly. The sound of his sudden collapse echoed unervingly in the gym. The silence that followed was immediate, heavy, and complete. Students froze mid-step. Phones hovered, forgotten. Instructors stared, mouths slightly open, realizing they had witnessed something extraordinary. The black belt's ego, the very thing that had powered him moments before, had been neutralized by calm, calculated mastery. Keanu Reeves didn't move toward him. He didn't gloat. He simply stood, relaxed, breathing evenly, eyes calm, observing the stunned gym. Every person present understood the unspoken message. Skill isn't about showmanship. Ego doesn't equal mastery. Respect and control speak louder than noise. The black belt looked up, wide-eyed, dazed, as if seeing Keanu for the first time. His arrogance had led him to assume dominance, and in one subtle, fluid motion, that assumption had been shattered. The crowd remained silent, still processing the lesson they had just witnessed. Whispers floated through the gym, part awe, part disbelief. No one dared speak too loudly. Some glanced at their instructors, hoping for guidance, but even the teachers were caught in stunned realization. It was a moment of pure, cinematic tension, ego challenged, skill revealed, and silence as heavy as a thundercloud. Everyone in the gym understood, without a word being spoken, that the dynamics of power had shifted in a single move. Keanu Reeves' calm presence had turned arrogance into humility, noise into silence, and a display of ego into a lesson none would ever forget. The gym held its collective breath. Every eye was fixed on the center mat, where two men stood, or rather, where one man stood and one man had been undone by the sheer precision of a single, deliberate move. The black belt, once brimming with confidence and theatrical bravado, had stumbled. His smirk had vanished, replaced by a stunned, almost frozen expression. The exaggerated movements that had mocked Keanu Reeves moments before now betrayed him entirely. One miscalculated step, one overextended strike, and he had lost control. Keanu didn't chase him. He didn't strike again. He didn't even raise his hands. He simply remained poised, centered and calm, an anchor in the storm of chaos that had overtaken the gym. The subtle shift in his stance, the gentle redirection of the black belt's momentum, had done everything. Power, skill, and authority had been demonstrated without a single shout, without any flashy theatrics. The students around the mat froze mid-motion. Some had their mouths open in disbelief. Phones hovered in the air, recording the moment, yet capturing only part of the story. The energy, the tension, the sheer mastery that couldn't fully be conveyed through a screen. Even the instructors, men and women who had trained in martial arts for decades, exchanged incredulous glances. They had seen many things in their careers, quick reflexes, aggressive displays of dominance, skillful counters, but what had just happened was different. It wasn't a show of brute strength. It wasn't about speed. It wasn't even about winning. It was about precision, timing, and presence, qualities so subtle yet so powerful that the black belt's ego could not withstand them. The black belt's eyes darted around, searching for some reassurance from the crowd, some validation from the students. But all he found were wide eyes, slack jaws, and phones capturing every detail. The laughter and whispers that had fueled his arrogance moments ago had evaporated. The energy of the gym had shifted entirely, leaving only stunned silence. Keanu's calm aura seemed to magnify in the stillness. The students could feel it even without understanding it. Their muscles tensed and relaxed in unison, as if the presence of someone who embodied true mastery had altered the atmosphere itself. Respect wasn't demanded. It was naturally given, radiating from every poised movement, every unspoken command of the space. The black belt finally realized the depth of the lesson he had just received. Ego, which had carried him so far, had been his downfall. He had mocked, ridiculed, and provoked, but skill and patience always trump arrogance. One move, subtle yet flawless, had undone him. One move had demonstrated more authority than a lifetime of shouting ever could. The crowd exhaled, almost imperceptibly, as if collectively acknowledging the gravity of the moment. Phones were lowered slowly. Students whispered to each other in hushed tones, their voices trembling with awe. "Did you see that? I've never seen anything like it." One move, that was all it took. Even the black belt could no longer mask his respect. He shifted uncomfortably, humbled by the quiet force of Keanu's presence. His shoulders sagged slightly, and for the first time, the arrogance that had defined him moments ago was gone. In its place was understanding, a dawning realization that true mastery was measured not by ego or theatrics, but by calm, precise, and controlled skill. Keanu finally took a small, measured step back, retreating slightly without breaking his composure. The gym, still frozen in silence, absorbed the full impact of what had happened. This wasn't just a lesson for the black belt. It was a lesson for everyone present. The power of presence, patience, and subtle mastery had spoken louder than any shouting, any flashy attack, or any display of ego. The one move had changed everything. The energy, once dominated by arrogance, was now tempered by respect. The gym would never forget this moment. Every student, every instructor, every observer had witnessed a demonstration of martial arts in its purest form: discipline, control, and humility over ego, noise, and bravado. In that moment, the silent message was clear. You can mock, you can shout, you can display strength, But if you underestimate skill, precision, and presence, one move is all it takes to turn the tables. The gym remained still. Time seemed to stretch, and in the center, Keanu Reeves stood perfectly calm, the quiet eye in a storm that had swept away arrogance, leaving only the lesson behind. The gym was dead silent. Not a whisper, not a shuffle, not even the hum of the air conditioning. It was as if the building itself had paused to witness what had just happened. The black belt knelt on the mat, chest heaving, eyes wide in disbelief. His face, once cocky and confident, was pale with shock. The arrogance that had carried him into the gym moments ago was gone, replaced by a raw, humbling awareness. He had mocked, taunted, and provoked, and in a single, subtle movement, Keanu Reeves had undone it all. Students hovered at the edge of the mat, phones raised but forgotten. Their jaws were slack, eyes glued to the scene, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Some whispered to each other, voices trembling. "Did you see that? One move, that's all it took. How is he so calm?" Even the instructors, men and women who had dedicated their lives to martial arts, stood frozen. Years of experience had taught them how to anticipate attacks, how to counter moves, how to read body language, but nothing had prepared them for the quiet precision that Keanu had demonstrated. It wasn't just technique. It was presence, mastery, and control in its purest form. The black belt finally looked up, eyes locking on Keanu. The smirk was gone. The bravado that had once radiated from him, like heat, now seemed absurd. He saw clearly, for the first time, that he had misjudged his opponent. The man he had mocked, the celebrity he thought was out of his depth, was a master, not flashy, not theatrical, but utterly undeniable in skill and calm authority. Keanu didn't say a word. He didn't move toward the black belt. He didn't smile, didn't scold, didn't gloat. He simply stood, a calm presence amid stunned observers. The silence around him was not oppressive. It was reverent. It spoke louder than any shout could. Respect was demanded not through intimidation, but through quiet demonstration of skill. Some students shifted nervously, glancing at their peers, trying to make sense of the lesson unfolding before them. Others sat on the floor, slack-jawed, realizing that they had been in the presence of something far beyond what they had imagined martial arts to be. Phones captured parts of the moment, but no screen could convey the full weight of the energy, the tension, and the awe that had filled the gym. The black belt's breathing slowed as he absorbed the lesson. His mind raced, replaying the movements, analyzing the misstep that had undone him. For the first time, he understood that skill and mastery were not measured by noise, ego, or theatrics, but by patience, timing, and precise execution. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, tentative at first. "Did you see that?" one student asked. "He didn't even touch him properly, and he still fell." Another added, "It's like he can read every move before it happens." The instructors exchanged glances. They nodded subtly, acknowledging what everyone now understood. The black belt had been undone not because he was weak, but because he had relied on arrogance. And Keanu, through calm observation and flawless execution, had proven a lesson no one present would ever forget. Even the black belt slowly rose to his feet, shoulders slumped, eyes humbled. His arrogance was gone, replaced by a grudging respect. He bowed lightly, acknowledging the skill he had just witnessed. It was a small gesture, but one that carried the weight of understanding. The lesson had landed. Keanu Reeves didn't respond to the bow. He didn't need to. The silence itself was the answer, a quiet echo that resonated through the gym. One move, calm presence, and true mastery speak louder than a lifetime of ego. The crowd exhaled collectively, as if realizing for the first time the magnitude of what had just occurred. Phones lowered, conversations hushed. The energy in the gym had shifted permanently. Respect had replaced arrogance. Silence had replaced bravado. And everyone present understood one undeniable truth. Mastery, true skill, and authority don't need to announce themselves. They reveal themselves at the perfect moment. Keanu Reeves stepped back, calm, collected, and composed. Every eye followed him, and every mind absorbed the lesson. Humility, precision, and presence outweigh arrogance, speed, and noise every single time. The gym, though still silent, had been transformed. Every student, every instructor, and even the humble black belt would remember this moment forever. The black belt slowly rose to his feet, shoulders heavy with the weight of realization. The arrogance that had fueled him moments ago, the confidence that had carried him into the gym as if he owned the place, was gone. In its place was humility, raw and undeniable. He looked around at the students and instructors, all eyes still fixed on Keanu Reeves, who remained calm and unshaken in the center of the mat. The shift in the gym's energy was tangible. Students who had been tense with anticipation now exhaled quietly, their nervous whispers replaced with thoughtful reflection. They had expected a dramatic showdown, a contest of strength, or a flashy display of skill. Instead, they had witnessed a masterclass in restraint, precision, and presence, and it left them speechless. The black belt's gaze returned to Keanu. For the first time, he saw him not as a celebrity or a quiet stranger, but as a teacher, someone who had just delivered a lesson that words could not capture. He bowed lightly, a gesture of respect that conveyed more than any apology could. The action was subtle, but it spoke volumes. He acknowledged that ego had no place in true mastery, and that arrogance could be dismantled with a single, calculated move. Keanu nodded once, almost imperceptibly, recognizing the gesture without comment. He didn't need to say anything. The lesson had been learned. Control, timing, and observation had triumphed over ego, noise, and bravado. This was martial arts in its purest form, a demonstration that true strength lies not in domination, but in calm confidence and mastery of oneself. The students began to relax, still in awe, but now reflective. Phones were lowered, conversations hushed, and even the instructors exchanged knowing glances. Each person absorbed a truth that extended far beyond martial arts. Skill, humility, and patience outweigh arrogance and bluster in every area of life. The black belt took a few deep breaths, letting the lesson sink in. He realized that mocking Keanu had been his greatest mistake, fueled by pride and the assumption that appearances defined skill. Now he understood that one move, executed with perfect timing and presence, could teach more than a lifetime of shouting or showmanship ever could. Keanu stepped back, giving space to the black belt and the observers. There was no grand flourish, no dramatic bow, no speech. He simply returned to his calm state, the eye of the storm that had just swept through the gym. His presence alone had shifted the dynamic of the room, leaving a permanent impression on every witness. The black belt finally addressed the students and instructors, his voice steady but humble. What I just experienced, I can't fully explain, but I understand now. True mastery isn't about showing off or proving superiority. It's about control, respect, and awareness. And arrogance can be undone in a single moment. Students nodded, some silently, some whispering to each other, repeating the lesson to internalize it. The gym, once filled with tension and anticipation, now hummed with quiet reflection. Every participant understood that they had witnessed more than a fight. They had witnessed a lesson in life itself, delivered with subtlety and precision. Keanu Reeves walked toward the exit, calm, composed, leaving the gym in silence. The black belt and students watched him go, understanding that the most powerful demonstrations are often the quietest. Ego could be loud, skill could be flashy, but true authority, the kind that commands respect, teaches lessons, and leaves lasting impact, requires presence, patience, and humility. And in that moment, the gym understood that this was a lesson they would carry forever, a story to be told again and again. One move, one calm presence, and a single, subtle lesson could change everything. The gym was quiet, but the silence was no longer tense. It was thoughtful, reflective, heavy with understanding. Students, instructors, and onlookers alike were absorbing a lesson far bigger than any punch, kick, or flashy move. They had come expecting entertainment, a show of martial arts prowess, or perhaps a celebrity spectacle. Instead, they had witnessed something far more powerful, a masterclass in humility, skill, and presence. Keanu Reeves didn't shout. He didn't gloat. He didn't even comment on the black belt kneeling before him or the stunned faces of everyone watching. His calm demeanor, steady posture, and quiet confidence had done all the work. Every eye in the gym had followed him, not because of fame or appearance, but because of the authority he carried silently, an authority born from skill, control, and discipline. The black belt, once brimming with ego, had been humbled. He understood, at last, that arrogance has limits, and that skill combined with calm awareness is far more formidable than theatrics or bluster. One move, subtle and deliberate, had undone years of overconfidence. It was a reminder that mastery isn't proven through noise or intimidation. It's revealed in presence, timing, and precision. Students whispered among themselves. Phones had been lowered, but the lessons would not be forgotten. Some murmured, "I can't believe how calm he was." Others added, "One move, that's all it took. One move changed everything." Even the instructors, seasoned martial artists with decades of experience, were nodding subtly, silently affirming what everyone was thinking. This was not a performance. This was true mastery. The black belt, now standing with shoulders lowered and gaze steady, finally spoke. "What I just saw, I can't explain it fully, but I understand now. Martial arts isn't about showing off. It isn't about ego or dominance. It's about control, respect, and timing. And arrogance can be undone in a single, subtle moment." That statement resonated with everyone present. The lesson extended far beyond the mat. In life, in work, in relationships, many of us fall into the trap of assuming power comes from being loud, assertive, or dominant. But as the gym had just witnessed, real influence comes from calm presence, quiet confidence, and mastery of oneself. Keanu didn't linger. He turned and walked toward the exit, every step deliberate, composed, and serene. The energy in the gym followed him, not as fear, but as awe and respect. His departure was a subtle reminder that true authority does not need recognition or applause. It is understood instinctively by those who witness it. For the students and instructors, the impact would last a lifetime. They had seen firsthand that skill is not defined by ego, but by timing, patience, and precision. That arrogance can be dismantled not through confrontation or shouting, but by calm, deliberate mastery. And that presence, the quiet kind that doesn't demand attention, can shift entire dynamics in a single moment. In that moment, everyone realized the gym had transformed. It was no longer just a place to train or compete. It had become a space of reflection, humility, and learning. Every person who had witnessed the encounter would carry its lesson into every fight, every challenge, and every decision. The story of one subtle move, one calm presence, and one lesson learned would echo far beyond the gym walls. And that is why people watch these stories. Not for the drama, not for the spectacle, not even for the celebrity. They watch because these moments reveal fundamental truths about human behavior, ego, and respect. They remind us that the person you underestimate today, the one you mock or judge, might have the power to teach you the most important lesson of your life. Speech balloon type respect if you believe true strength comes from calm confidence and humility. Share where you're watching from, and reflect. If you were in the gym that day, would you have learned the lesson quietly, or missed it entirely? The black belt had learned, the students had learned, the instructors had learned, and everyone watching online can now learn the same thing. One subtle move, executed with precision and presence, can change everything. Keanu Reeves left the gym quietly, but the impact of his presence would linger forever. He didn't need to shout, he didn't need to perform, and he didn't need to dominate. True mastery waits patiently. It observes, it teaches, and when the moment is right, it changes everything in an instant. Because real skill, real power, and real respect are not earned through noise or theatrics. They are earned through calm, deliberate action, humility, and mastery of oneself. And that is the lesson everyone took home that day. One that will never be forgotten.